What's up, everybody? Nate here from Out of the Basement, bringing you a brand new figure review. Today from Star Wars The Black Series, we are taking a look at Princess Leia Organa in her BOUSHH disguise. This is part of the brand new archive wave. This figure is something that is very special to me because this is one of the very few figures I actually have never owned in my collection. So I'm actually very happy to finally be able to add BOUSHH Leia to my shelf. This is one of my favorite looks of Princess Leia. And something else that makes this figure interesting is this is also the first time that we have sort of new tooling going on for the archive line. Previously, archive figures were as is with just updated paint apps and photoreal if it was applicable. If you've been watching the channel for a long time, though, you know that some figures don't get fixed with just a photoreal update. Some of them do need a little bit more work. BOUSHH Leia was one of those. The original figure was absolutely massive. It was super tall. So they actually shortened the legs on this figure to make it a more accurate Leia height. And I will be able to show you a side-by-side comparison of those two figures later in the video. Let's just take a quick rundown of the packaging. It is the archive packaging we all know. To me, this packaging is really not all that interesting. I will say my favorite part, though, continues to be the Gregory Titus art that's still featured on these boxes. It will be a sad day when we no longer get to see the beautiful artwork down here. But otherwise, it's just a black and gray kind of boring box, but I think that's okay for archive because I think most of us are opening these. It does say Princess Leia BOUSHH on the side. We do have the Black Series logo at the top. Archive right there. On the back of the packaging, you can see a larger image of the Gregory Titus art and also the original figure, which was part of the blue line all the way back in 2014. Here's also a bio if you want to pause it and read it now. We also have the barcode on the bottom. Nothing else really going on with this packaging wise. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get this figure open. We'll take a look at the accessories and then Leia herself. First up, we do have her backpack attachment here, which is nicely sculpted, and you can see the paint app details are still present. These are also featured on the original as well, although this new copy is definitely much more vibrant. And this simply plugs into Leia's back, just like that. We do also have the huge long staff here, which is completely unpainted, and it is cast in like a bluish gray plastic. Sculpting details are pretty nice and it looks pretty accurate to what we see in the movie, but I do think we could have seen a little bit of more paint detail go into it for the archive release, but hey, original figure and yada yada. We do also have a very dangerous accessory here, the thermal detonator, which be very careful with this. It is very tiny and I'm sure it would be very easy to lose. It does have a little peg hole on the back so you can store it on Leia, and I would probably advise that because one false shelf dive and this thing will be a victim of the carpet monster. And last but not least, we have the actual bounty hunter disguise helmet, which does look pretty good. The light brown paint is a little sloppily applied in places, but I think overall it is still pretty good. We get some nice silver for like the mouth grill piece. Nice reflective black on the visor and the green on top there with the other visor thingy that is on the helmet. And on this side of the helmet we do get some really nice silver detailing and even a little bit of silver dry brushing on the brown on both sides is present. And the helmet fits just fine over Leia's head, no questions asked there. And here is archive BOUSHH Leia out of the packaging, and she is looking pretty damn awesome for a figure from 2014. We all know what we're getting into with this point in the archive line. We know her articulation is definitely going to be dated and could totally use updating, but if this is what we have to do to get some older figures back out in the line for collectors like myself who missed out, then so be it, because BOUSHH Leia to me is an important character. Definitely need it for the shelf, and surprisingly this figure does move decently. And just like with all archive figures, you can see that the paint apps are almost identical, just a little bit more cleanly applied. And yes, we do have the photoreal face here. It's on the original head sculpt, So yeah, I still don't think it quite captures that Carrie Fisher look, but it's certainly better than the original. And like I said earlier in the video, something about this figure that is special is that it does have newly shortened legs, so the figure is a more accurate height. Before we jump into all of that though, let's go ahead and get the figure off the stand and we'll take a close look at her details. All right, and starting out here with the updated photoreal head, you can see that it is definitely an improvement over the original. However, still doesn't really quite capture Carrie Fisher. I can definitely see it, but yeah, I think we do have better LEIA figures in the line. And here's the side-by-side of the heads. Big difference here. But otherwise, the costumes are almost absolutely identical. We do get a little bit of paint there on her bandolier for some bullets. A little bit of silver there in the middle of the outfit. But otherwise, there is some really nice sculpting, but not a whole lot in terms of painted details. Here is the backpack on the figure. We do have the soft goods cape, which is a little tricky to get it to lay kind of right. I folded mine inward so that it kind of lays how it should, but it can definitely get out of control because it is just a light piece of fabric. So you're gonna have to play with it, work with it, get it to actually sit and lay correctly, and then hopefully eventually it just will. But we have those classic double knees here as well with some really nice sculpting all throughout the figure. Even for something from 2014, I still think that the sculpt of the costume here is pretty nice. Maybe we could have used some more texture on the skirt piece and the arms, but hey, you know, it's pretty decent. And I do like that they did take the time, even though it is sloppily applied, to actually paint like those spiked knuckles. However, the skin tone here is absolutely horrendous and doesn't really look like flesh at all. Definitely a weird paint choice for the hands. I would have assumed they would have updated the hand paint as well, but we have seen that on archive figures, they will mismatch the head to the neck, and I think LEIA even suffers from that just a little bit. And actually, if we bring in the original figure here, you can see the hands are actually darker. But otherwise, I think the costume details are virtually the same, other than more cleanly applied paint app details. Looks like maybe the orange on the new one is a little bit darker as well, though. And just jumping into the articulation, LEIA can look up a decent amount and can look down as well. We do have rotation and side to side for the head just a little bit. On the shoulders, they do move all the way out, pretty decent range here. You can rotate them completely around. She does unfortunately have single jointed elbows, but they do still give you almost 90 degrees, coming up a little bit short here. But there is also swivel at the elbow, and there went the thermal detonator. And for the hand, they both rotate around and have horizontal hinges. And one thing I do want to point out as well, her hands are incredibly soft, so she kind of has a little bit of difficulty holding some of her accessories. As far as a crunch is concerned, you really don't get anything forward. You get a decent amount back here. Of course, it rotates and you do get some side to side. And for her legs, they do kick out about that far. Splits wise, this is about all you get. The kickback is pretty minimal as well. We do have thigh swivel and a double jointed knee here that works pretty well. It's a little bit chunky, but you can still get that full range of motion out of it. And lastly, for the feet, they do move down about that far. They do go up about that far, and you do have ankle pivot and peg holes. So her articulation is definitely a little bit dated, but you can still get some decent posing out of her for sure. And now starting off with our comparisons, here is the new archive LEIA with the old BOUSHH LEIA here, and you can see there is a definitive height difference between the two. You can take a look right here. I think this is definitely where they took a chunk out, but it is still sculpted the same, but of course they are definitely shorter legs. So yeah, I think it's pretty awesome that they were able to update the height of the figure to make it more accurate, because yeah, old BOUSHH LEIA is huge. And then let's jump into some of the heroes here. Standing in for a Return of the Jedi Chewbacca, I do have Empire Strikes Back Chewie, and we also have got Skiff Guard Lando. And next up, some of the denizens of Jabba's palace. We have Bib Fortuna and a Gamorrean guard. Next up with Endor Han and Han in Carbonite. And we can't forget about Endor Luke as well. And now it's time for the Leia party. First up, we have Slave Leia and Ewok Village Leia. And you can see that, yeah, like we always say, Slave Leia is a severely undersized figure, and this is a perfect representation of that right here with other Leias in the line. And to finish out the Return of the Jedi Leias, we also have Endor Leia right here. Moving backward to Empire Strikes Back, we've got Hoth Leia and Bespin Escape Leia. And lastly, for our Black Series comparisons, we have the original A New Hope Archive Princess Leia and the Yavin Ceremony Leia. And so there you have it. That was my review for the archive version of BOUSHH Leia. This is a pretty nice update to that figure. One I think is definitely essential for the shelf, especially if you don't have it. But I would also say that this is a worthy upgrade because of the change in height, and also the updated photoreal face is pretty good, even though I think most of us, myself included, will be displaying BOUSHH Leia helmet on. Still, it is a pretty nice update. So I think this is one everyone should pick up for the collection here. I'm happy to finally have BOUSHH Leia on the shelf. It was a long time coming. Let's hope we get more characters from Jabba's palace in the future. But for now, I'm happy to finally have BOUSHH Leia. So if you enjoyed my review, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you are new. We're always talking about Star Wars The Black Series here on the channel. If you'd like to support us in a more direct manner, we do also offer a channel membership for 99 cents a month. You get access to a custom Clone Trooper name badge and also custom emojis that you can use on our videos and in our live streams, which are every single Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Time. Special thank you to our current channel members. Your continued support is truly appreciated. And thank you to everyone else out there for simply watching, liking, and subscribing, and sharing these videos with all of your Star Wars figure loving friends. I'm Nate from Out of the Basement. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.